One Piece has arcs. Shocking, I know. But out of these many arcs, and I mean, there's a lot, there is one that is extremely underrated and often skipped by fans, and that of course is Wano. No, I'm joking. It's Skypiea. The Skypiea saga takes place right after the Alabasta saga and is disliked by a few fans primarily because it feels out of place. And to some extent, yes, it is out of place, because it's an island in the sky. I think the reason some people think Skypiea is out of place in the story and is a random arc is because it takes place in a location very different to the Grand Line we know. All of a sudden, we're taken above the ocean to a sky ocean where an entire civilization exists without our knowledge. However, I'm here to argue that, well, it isn't out of place. Well, it is, because it's supposed to be on the ground, but it was shot at. You know what I mean. Firstly, while many people look at Skypiea's location as a disadvantage, I'd say that is quite possibly the biggest advantage to the arc. Because of its unique placement in the world, the arc is special compared to others. And to those that think the island is too weird, we literally live in a world where Australia exists. If anything, Skypiea is less weird than that. Skypiea as an arc had one purpose in my opinion, setting up lore and foreshadowing future events. Some of the best foreshadowing ever has come from Skypiea. Hockey, for example, was foreshadowed long before it was ever officially named through Analand's whatever these dudes were. Their mantra was actually hockey, and while through the first read it seems weird as hell, as soon as hockey is revealed by Rayleigh, everything clicks together. Speaking of foreshadowing, let's talk about more foreshadowing. Roger and his poneglyph. Towards the end of the arc, we saw Robin look at the Skypiea poneglyph with Roger's signature on it. Later on, a lot later on, 666 chapters later to be exact, almost 700 chapters later, we finally saw Roger reach the poneglyph. To see Oda be able to foreshadow an event that occurred years and years later is just insane. Oda was just flexing his god-tier foreshadowing abilities at this point. However, while all of this foreshadowing was cool, I haven't even gotten to the two biggest moments of foreshadowing. The iconic panel introducing the sun god Nika and seeing Luffy in the same pose is still to this date the most impressive thing Oda has done for me. To see him hint at Gear 5 from all the way back in the pre-time skip is just mind-blowing. And what made it even worse is that he teased us all about it. In an interview, he said that this very panel was his third favorite panel he's ever drawn, and it was in our faces the entire time. Oda truly is the GOAT. The next piece of foreshadowing seen on Skypiea is something that we still don't know much about, but I'm sure it means something. Luffy being the natural enemy to Enel, aka Luffy, someone with the D initial, being the natural enemy to God. Coinky-dink? I think not. Moving on from foreshadowing, let's talk about pre-shadowing, otherwise known as history. Why'd I say it like that? Any arc where we get to see One Piece history is a good arc to me, and Skypiea showed us a lot of history. A lot. Firstly, Noland and his journey. Seeing someone who lived so long ago also possessed the same love for adventure and kindness as Luffy is insane, and it also brings up the question, is Joy Boy a person or a will? Furthermore, we also got to see a vast amount of history through the entire way the arc functioned. Skypiea had a ton of lore contained within its own arc, which I found so goddamn cool. Ignoring the massive, possibly entire show-changing Joy Boy Nolan thing, we also got to see a cool-ass map. In case it wasn't apparent, I find maps cool. Me freaking out about maps aside, another thing I love about One Piece is its politics. It's like American politics, but somehow more, Tim.
Finalized yet, it's still possible. It looks like Patrick McHenry is trying to...
Seeing the Shandians and Skypieans fight over the land and who was the rightful owner with one side completely overpowering the other sounds familiar. But for real, the conflict between Shandorians and Skypieans was strangely captivating to me. Seeing how Oda could masterfully touch on such a dark topic was just masterful, and if anything, it was just a warning of what was going to come. It was going to be me when I see me. However, I still haven't even brought up what truly makes Skypiea the masterpiece it is. I think to no one's surprise, it's the one character I haven't yet mentioned, the being we all pray to. Luffy's song. To see such a musical masterpiece be crafted in this arc is what truly makes us all so lucky to be a One Piece fan. Honestly, this is the best song One Piece has crafted. Film Red was just trying to copy it. Enel was what truly made this arc as godly as it was. Haha. Get it? Because he's a god. It's a pun. He is, without a doubt, still one of the scariest villains One Piece has ever made. His observation Haki was better than most characters post-time skip, yet he came almost 300 chapters before Haki was officially introduced. His Devil Fruit is also one of the strongest Devil Fruit to date, and he's one of the most electrifying villains I've ever seen. Get it? Because it's an electro Devil Fruit. Enel was genuinely the scariest villain in pre-time skip, and seeing him manage to beat everyone on the island genuinely made me scared for the crew. It seemed all but hopeless. How could someone defeat a character with an almost perfect Devil Fruit, someone who could see the future, and someone with this big of a rod? How could the crew beat a literal god? That rhymed. You just can't. Oh. Right. He's rubber. The entire time while watching this arc, it never dawned on me that Luffy was a natural counter. In fact, I don't think anyone realized that was how Luffy would beat Enel. It was so obvious the entire time, yet... God, Oda is such a good author. Yes, I'm saying Oda did good instead of blaming my own stupidity. What about it? Luffy vs Enel is honestly one of my favorite fights in all of One Piece. Seeing Luffy have to get creative with his Devil Fruit to counter Enel's Haki was something so unique that has literally never been used again. It was one of the rare times when a Devil Fruit beat Haki. Seeing Luffy constantly get back up onto the ship. Oh yeah, did I mention, this man Enel was not only a god, but he was smart as well. In other words, he's the ideal Asian kid. Anyways, back to Taco Bell. Seeing Luffy punch the shit out of Enel with a massive ass bell and seeing his silhouette across the sky, it's just all so good. I can't explain it in any other way other than hype as shit. Also, it was just satisfying seeing the two monkey dudes and Cricket Wireless realize the truth. It was also nice seeing the crew have to team up with random people to fight Enel. Honestly, one of the best parts of this arc to me was watching a random group of people come together to help the Straw Hats. It was nostalgic of how the crew first met, and honestly, I love it when the crew have to work with other people. Another thing this arc benefits from is that it was filled with comedy. While this wasn't by any means the point of the arc, it has some of the funniest moments I've ever seen in One Piece. The Zoro Tarzan scream, Luffy running around the inside of the snake for most of the arc not realizing where he was, Luffy calling Usopp an idiot, Usopp jumping off the sky proving that he is an idiot, Luffy's song, Chopper crying trying to find the crew, all of it was just so funny. Also, just to clarify, I'm not a sadist, I just found Chopper funny. Because this arc was part of pre-time skip One Piece that was filled with comedy, it also had the advantage that this arc has some of the funniest moments ever. And finally, while I touched on this in the beginning, I think the world building of Skypiea is some of the best in the entire show. Because Skypiea took place in a place so different to the normal Grand Line, even though there's nothing normal about the Grand Line, Oda had to create an entire civilization. To see him manage to create an entire new civilization filled with interesting backstory and history was just so amazing. Seeing how they fight and how it's completely different to the normal Devil Fruit punch fighting of the Grand Line was so cool, and watching the hierarchy of the island play out to me was just interesting. Oda managed to do all this and so much more in just one arc. Also, the island was just pretty. Sky Island is gorgeous. Just like you. Side note, but Jesus Christ, I'm such an Oda sim. Someone send help. So, overall, Skypiea is a must-watch. It's one of the most underrated arcs in the entire show, and seeing people skip this arc genuinely hurts. Everyone knows that there's only one arc you should skip in One Piece. The most boring, unfunny arc ever. And that, of course, is Wano. Overall, though, that's it for me. Thank you.